Bill, you said something about narrowing down the spec book, the parts and the specs where you pick, because sometimes I'll open up a spec book on a job and we got 2.5 to 3 weeks to bid this thing, and like you say, it's, tomorrow we need it, and I'll open up and we'll say, well, this is an FSC lead job, and now so I take the whole criteria and say, well, it's FSC lead. It's not broken down at all, and then I send it to a client and they just fall out of their chair.
It's a tremendous strategy, really, on this end, trying to figure out how to make the value, because you've got a percentage you can afford, and some suppliers can supply 2 or 3 things, and there's a premium. But if you can take the whole basket of wood and say, all right, let's look at the trusses, let's look at the lumber. Today, 2x12's running high. Let's not do that in FSC. Let's do the studs, the blade. Let's do the trusses because there's a high value, it's manufactured, and there's a percentage issue. Let's mix that in. Now we can bring down that premium to 3, 4%, whatever number we need to hit, because we can take a basket of wood and plan how to get there. So my experience has always been, if you call somebody up and say, I want the green thing, it's always incrementally more. But that's the old days, though, really. I mean, that's going away. But if you call somebody up and say, here's the goal, and you're good at this, help me figure out how to get there, they know their business and they can figure out how to get you the value you need, but you've got to use it across the basket of products.
And my hope with this is personally, green building has demonstrated very effectively. One of the reasons it's grown so phenomenally is because it's demonstrated these areas where it can save people money. I don't think on the material side, unless there's something that I don't know, having looked at this for a long time, on the material side, I think you will always pay more for environmentally responsible materials. That's not where you're going to get your savings, but hopefully you can still save overall and allocate some responsible portion of what you're saving, and less energy and less water and all of those things, and say, we're going to pay more because this is a green project and we want to vote with our dollars and support better practices out there in our forests, better practices out there in our industries that manufacture materials, because we care about sustainability. And it's worth paying some reasonable premium, because if there isn't a willingness to pay a premium, then at the end of the day, you're forcing the extra costs of doing better forestry and getting these audits down the throats of the people at the forest level, and this whole thing can't grow. It can't work. We have to pay for the difference at the end of the day.
I think that LEED actually needs to evolve in its next iterations to give more value to these wood points. The first LEED Platinum certified residence, the Margarito House in the Oakland Hills, didn't use any FSC certified wood, and it's a platinum level certification. And if that budget, a home, I think it's 4,300 square foot, it was built for roughly $2 million, could be sold for $5 million today. If that budget can't justify paying however much more for certified, FSC certified wood, then it's very hard to convince any other budget, much less affordable housing.
It's such an interesting issue in our industry, this idea of valuing sustainable forestry. An example we'll all be familiar with, if you think about, Brazilian cherry. It's a couple dollars less expensive than domestic cherry or FSC certified. Why? It's stolen. It's stolen wood, literally. And so here we have in the products that come in from foreign markets, 60% plus of illegal wood flowing into our supply chains. And any other industry in the world, I think, would be incensed about that. We're not yet fully incensed about that.
That brings up another issue, and that is that this new law as of June of 2008 that supposedly in the U.S. bans the import of illegally logged exotic hardwoods from Southeast Asia, from South America, from all over the world. And I'm wondering if you can...
The Lacia?
Yeah, how is that enforced? How are they monitoring?
I don't know how it's enforced. I do know it's already had an effect on the mahogany market. I mean, our FSC certified mahogany, like I was saying, so we're getting a lot of calls.
I know a bit about the enforcement. As I understand it, the Lacey Act is a 100-year-old statute that was first set up to try to control illegal commercial hunting and poaching. So it was focused, the senator was an avid hunter, and he didn't want to see the stuff that he liked to hunt wiped out, and that was how it was really originally passed. A year ago, they passed this amendment which made it illegal to trade in the U.S. in wood products that are illegally, or actually any plant, but including trees and timber that have been logged or transported in contravention of the laws of the country of origin. So it's against U.S. law to trade in products that were illegally logged or harvested, or they didn't pay the tariffs that they were supposed to pay, all those sorts of things. And then the question of enforcement is a really huge one. Like, how are they going to monitor that? You know, it's a pretty difficult task given how much illegal wood actually comes in. A lot of it from China, but from all parts of the world. And as I understand it, it's going to basically be like the IRS, where they're going to target a few companies that have probably been fingered by environmental groups who are deep into investigating these illegal supply chains, and there will be highly publicized prosecutions and seizures of goods for these few worst players, and everyone else will be sufficiently scared that hopefully they're going to do their proper due diligence to make sure that they're buying legal wood. Can I speak to the Lead for Homes issue? You touched on this earlier, and the conversation kind of moved, but I have a really strong concern here that I want to voice, and I don't know if your committee can do anything about this, but I became aware of this recently, and I'm really hoping that USGBC will maybe do something about this. And it does go back to the regional materials credit, which is different under the commercial rating systems than it is under Lead for Homes. And that's the key point here. So under the commercial rating systems, you know, 500-mile radius, all that standard stuff, it has to be, the raw material has to be extracted or harvested, manufactured and distributed within 500 miles. But in the commercial rating systems, they look at all building materials and the cost of all building materials. And you know, if it's 5% or more of the cost of all building materials is regional, then you get 1 point, 10% or more, it's 2 points. And if you mix
actually, it's 10 and 20 now.
Is it 10 to 20?
Yeah.
In Lead for Homes, though, MR2, I believe, is the environmentally preferable products credit, which looks at, it comprehensively covers all wood. And there, when I went and revisited it, it says that an environmentally preferable product is either FSC reclaimed bamboo, cork, you know, non-emitting, all of these things, or it's regionally sourced with zero environmental criteria, zero social criteria. It came within 500 miles, it's good enough for us. That's the way that credit is set up. And all of a sudden, if you're in Washington, yeah, you could be getting wood from the worst clear cut that Weyerhaeuser is doing. If you're in Central California, it could be coming from Sierra Pacific Industries and the heavy logging of the Sierras. And you can be getting those points.
Well,
there it is.
You point out a good weakness of the LEAD program, and I don't think anyone will claim that it's a perfect program, but it's constantly evolving. It's very grassroots, and just getting into the market and addressing the big footprints, which is production home building, was their first step in this. And they knew that if they were too stringent, then they would lose sight of a lot of people that really need to kind of to be handheld and step by step. You know, this is what it is now. This is what it will be in 5 years, 10 years, 20. So I think the idea there is that LEAD is well, it is international, but for the most part, it's with LEAD for Homes. It's American and it's regional, and in North America we have management practices, whereas in most other countries, in developing countries, their management is at a low. So I think, you know, this needs to be voiced with the people at LEAD, and they need to really get on this in the next iteration. But it's probably going to be another couple years before we address that.